Hit record.
Hello, and welcome to the Save Our Children podcast. We're your hosts, Becky and Bridget. Today we have on independent artist, Alex Kutcher. Thank you so much for coming on. We've been watching your music. You have an absolutely phenomenal voice. And like I even said, I was listening to it, especially the cover, the Evanescence cover, which of course, that's what people know you from. But my husband's like, is that Evanescence? I was like, no, it's the lady we're interviewing today. It's amazing. So you have a phenomenal voice, but thank you so much for joining us today. Can you just tell us how you got started, who you are, and let our audience know a little bit about you?
Yeah, well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thank you for having me. Let's see. We'll go back to, I guess, kind of how people know me from the Evanescence thing, and that's TikTok. I've been singing my entire life. So like that part of this isn't new to me, but actually being someone that people actually know a little bit is relatively new.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, back 2020 when everything got shut down, I was bored at home, so I started hopping on the TikTok thing, and there was one day that I did a cover. It was just a video in a little photo studio of "Call Me When You're Sober" that Evanescence did, and I posted that on my TikTok, and I captioned it. I was like, "Oh, it'd be my dream if Amy Lee saw this," right? And I think it was the next day or 2 days later, it was something like that. People were just tagging her like crazy. And I was like, oh, well, okay, this is kind of cool. Yeah. And then out with my husband, we were just playing around with this new drone that we got. And I opened my phone and Evanescence had reposted that video to their TikTok.
Holy crap.
Wait, what does this say?
What world am I living in?
Yeah, I was like, well, hold on. This has to be like a fan page, right?
Right.
Like, what is going on? And so I refreshed it like 5 times just to make sure. And no, that was what happened. And I think it was crazy to me because before that point, they had never posted anything that wasn't their own content to their TikTok. So for her to pick a video of me, I was like, wow, that's amazing. Like that is just that's so special because that's a very, like
it's a big thing.
Yeah. But before them, before then it had been nothing but them. So, that's kind of what the catalyst was. And, yeah, I just kind of from there posted more singing videos and kind of grew pretty rapidly from that. It's weird when TikTok wanted you to join this like creator fund thing that they had.
Yeah.
You can monetize your videos and stuff. So I did that and I got some, growth from that. And then everything stopped. So everything got cut. And that's kind of what I had heard after I had already joined. I was like, oh, this is what that is. So I guess the whole creator fund thing was they boost you, they, throw your stuff out there for, however long, and then they just cut all your views so they don't have to pay you out anymore. And after that,
that seems big package of them.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like obviously there's nothing in it for them if they push everything out and then they constantly just have to pay people, like, duh. Right. But, thinking, oh, I'll get more views. That's kind of what I went for. And so after that, after I started crashing, I just left it because I was like, I'm not gonna continue. So it had been hard to kind of build that back up again. And I would do some just like little random trending videos kind of in between my singing to kind of maybe think, oh, this will help,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it did for a little bit. So I think right now I'm sitting at around 200,000 on TikTok, but still my views are kind of, down. So, I mean, it is, but it's put me in connection with a lot of really cool people. So that's the part that I am really grateful for. And that's where I got this whole Bring Me to Life cover going on, as I met a guy on there and he had already had the music and he was just looking for a voice. So he's in the band called the Alpha Complex and we collaborated on that. And I recorded my vocals here, sent them off to him. They mixed, did the whole thing. He took a train up here and we shot the video at my aunt's house. So, I mean,
That's
it all
wild.
just, yeah. So that was kind of like the big thing. Cause you know, everyone was like, oh, it's the Evanescence girl. So I was like, I can't not do this. You know?
Yep.
As of recently, it's just, I've been kind of coasting and just doing videos on my channel. But I think it was maybe 2 weeks ago even, that I got in touch with Ray, the Marine rapper. And I just commented on his TikTok live and I said, hey, I don't know if you're ever looking for new singers, but you know, I'd love to work with you. And he's like, all right, hop on and let's talk about it. So we talked about it that day, that second. He brought me on his live and we just kind of talked for a little bit. And he said, you know, tell me a little bit about yourself. So I did the spiel, and he sent me a track that night, and that is actually coming out on Friday. But by the time that this airs, it'll be out. Yeah. So Armor of God is our track that we're doing together, and that'll
being the 21st of January, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Just so people listening later, it's already out, but that's when it launched. So
buy it.
And we have a few other songs in the works too, but I mean, from there on, it just kind of rippled. Like, he had people that, you know, I got connected to Don, the guy that produced my song 6 a.m. And I mean, it just, from there, all the pieces just started, you know, kind of forming. And I was like, this is just such a cool network of people. And that's kind of where we are now. So I hope I didn't ramble too much.
No,
you're
none
good.
at all.
I love it too, because like everything that we do for even our podcast, it's been brought to us like divinely. Like, we've always like prayed about things or just like journaled it. And then we're just like, okay, now we'll sit back and patience. And so then once we got connected to, we reached out to DKIR. And then when we did the podcast with TMR, DKIR, and Topher, it's just like their whole community is amazing. Like, there's so much love and support in that community. And then just seeing like all the connections, even like with you, that's how I found you, is watching that live and then hearing the music. And I was like, oh my gosh, her vocals are beautiful. Like, yeah, I was listening to it in my car, my radio. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to turn up. I'm gonna blow out my speakers. Her voice is so powerful.
She's singing along and thinking it's herself. Just kidding.
Right.
No, I'm like, I'm that horrible singer. I don't got vocals like that.
That's why you just turn it up. No one knows it's not you.
Right?
Just think video, and there you go.
Right. Until the audio stops and you're like, oh, I don't sound like that.
No, you're right though, that the group, that is some kind of support that I have never seen before. Like, their whole mission is supporting each other.
Yep.
And that's so refreshing compared to just the competition style everywhere else.
Yep.
And like, you don't succeed on your own, and having so many connections and having so many people post about you, post for you, post with you, work together, doing all this stuff, that's how you reach more people. And that's how the message gets out and how we, you know, make some kind of change. So I think that's super important. And I think that's something that they have very, very strong on lock. Like, they just
Definitely. Especially on all platforms, because especially in the entertainment industry, you don't see many artists lifting each other up, and they don't work together, and you don't see with them, it's a family, and you see the unconditional love, like even with their fans, which I know everyone is like, I hate that word, because to them it's family. And it's like, you just see the genuine connection that they make with people and take time out of their day. And even when I saw you on the live, I was like, finally a female. Yes. And then when talking to you offline and knowing that, like, I listened to like Janae Aiko and LMA and all of that music. And then I heard your voice and I was like, please tell me you're making some songs coming out to replace all that music. And she's like, I got you. So I know for me, I was super excited when I heard and discovered you through them. And then just even being able to now go back and watch like your journey. And then I know you have a lot more to come. So that will be exciting.
Thank you. Yeah, no, and what you're saying too, like the, you know, the whole Hollywood industry. I think the other thing missing that is separate from the group that we have now is, you know, the interaction with the people that support them.
Mhm.
Like you see people, you know, you see people like TMR and Topher and, you know, DQ, all these guys that will, you know, repost if someone posts something about them, or will comment on something, or will interact with people socially. And that's what makes people want to support them even more.
Mhm.
You know, like, cool, they see me. They
Yep.
see me more than just, you know, a dollar sign.
Right.
And, you know, you see people, I'll give a couple people credit that are in the industry right now. Like Charlie Puth is one that will interact with people, or he'll repost, or he'll do stuff on TikTok with people.
Mhm.
But it's very few and far between that a very big notable celebrity will take time to actually do stuff. And I've been noticing that because, like, I follow some other artists that, you know, will only hop online to promote a song, and then you won't see anything from them. You won't hear anything, and that's it. And it's like, is that really all the effort you're going to put into it? Like, I get you've made it already, but it's like, don't you want to keep that traction going? Because it's like, that's what makes people want to continue to support you.
Right.
But I guess at the point for them, it's like, well, I've cashed in, I've got as much as I'm going to make. So, I mean, whatever else is, I guess, extra. So they don't really care as much anymore. But yeah, I think that is super important to, you know, maintain interaction with people, because that's your support.
And I
Like,
think it's
why would-
happening. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no,
It's-
you're fine. Go ahead.
It's happening everywhere too. Like even in our survivor circle of stuff, we would follow some people and it's like, oh my gosh, what a great story you have. And this is amazing. And then you'd be like, you should reach out to this group of people. Oh no, those people are bad. Okay, well, you need help. Maybe you should reach out to this group, but no, those people are bad. Okay, or I don't want any relation with those people or this people or whatever. And so
Yeah.
literally Bridget and I and our other friend Emma started our Standby Survivors group based off of that premise of everybody gets to be in our circle and we get to expand it. And we don't know, again, maybe you can connect with this person or this person can connect with this person, but that's not for us to say who can or can't. We're all just kind of here opening the platform and opening the door. And I think that we just need more of that just in general. And we all know that the powers that be don't want us to be talking and don't want us to be doing that. They want us to be at odds all the time. And so it's great to see connections, and even like I'll say interdisciplinary, like, yeah, we're not in music, but we love to be able to support and bring people on and be able to tell your story and talk about how it does relate into what we do. And so again, I think that people just need to stop yelling at each other online and start talking to each other, because there's more connections than we think.
Yeah. And piggybacking off of what Bridget said earlier, like being like a female voice in this kind of movement, I think is important, because it's bridging, no pun intended, that gap of, you know, the culture that is out there right now and what we're trying to do. Because I mean, there hasn't been very many alternatives to that. And I think the more that we can expand, the better it's going to be, because the rappers, they've got it. They've got it. But there are not as many women that are willing to speak up, or willing to stand for something, or are willing to hold their convictions because for whatever reason they're afraid, or they don't, you know, whatever it may be, they don't want to do that. And I feel like what was missing in that was, you know, the female R&B sound, maybe even a male R&B sound, like a Tory Lanez, or like a, you know, like a Chris Brown or a Drake or something like that. Like that part in conjunction with what we already have would elevate it so much. You know, like we need as many alternatives as we can get, because that's what's going to get people. Like, instead of just telling people, no, don't support these people. Well, what else am I going to do? Where else? Oh, yeah, because they don't have anything. You know, there hasn't been up until this point a quality alternative. So people don't want to, because they're like, it doesn't sound the same. It doesn't work. It doesn't flow. I don't enjoy that. The content's cheesy. It's this, it's that, it's the other thing. So to make, clean, non-vulgar, positive music. It doesn't have to always be political. It doesn't have to always be Christian, but it does have to be positive and uplifting. It has to be something that doesn't trash your brain.
Yep.
Or your children's brain.
Yeah, exactly. Because those are the people that are listening to all this. Like, yeah, obviously adults listen to music too. I understand that. But it is so important that we're very careful of what we're saying because of those little ears.
Yep. Yep.
Adults have discernment. Children don't.
Right.
So why would you present them with something that would, ruin their brain?
Well, we appreciate it. As parents, we appreciate you guys doing that. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I like making, romantic songs about my husband, but they're not sex songs. They're not, seductive. They're not this. They're just romantic and sweet and nice. And that should be something that a kid can look at and be like, oh, that's an example of what I could look for in a relationship. That in my mind, I see as positive, because it's basically like, how would you want to model a relationship for your kids?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same wave,
You don't have to twerk to get a husband.
right?
Yeah. And I think that's important. And I know that when we talk,
but hey, when you get one though, you should. Only for him.
only for him, and keep like off social media. Like, and that's the one thing that I see is like, when you like, the society makes it seem like you have to be out there like showing literally nothing in order to be seen and to get a husband or even a boyfriend, whatever, or girlfriend. Society, like, it makes it seem like you have to like sell your body. There's so much sex exploitation. And so that's like why I love your music. And when I saw like even the female artists that TMR is collaborating with right now, is like, finally, because it's going to shift the culture in general, and we need it now more than ever. You see so much hate in the world and so much division, and like between I'm going to tie it to trafficking for our listeners, is like, you see so much of the beta programming and the MK Ultra, where like they're sex kittens and literally sex slaves. And even the guys are on that movement right now. And you even see it in the Latin culture in Bad Bunny's video. And he's literally performing a SRA ritual in his video. And so just like seeing that, and then you see like all the young kids who are gravitating to that, and they think it's cool, they think it's trendy. Now you have these kids who are turning to the drugs at a younger age. The suicide is crazy, and the whole mental health aspect. So trying to shift that culture, it's nice to see clean music and everything that you guys are creating, especially being a female, because it's a whole different role model for even like us as moms, that we can even listen to, or our kids can listen to and know like, this is what love really should look like and have a positive influence. And it's not just always talking about like WAP and like all that nonsense. So for us, like when we started our podcast, we said, even though like we're talking about trafficking awareness and all of that, we wanted a place to, as we talk about it, we wanted to be able to replace it. So we wanted to do something about it. So we're like, okay, yeah, we're saying this person's bad, this person's bad. This is what we know. And as the survivors speak out against it, we're like, okay, but now we're going to replace it with this kind of music. And here's some Christian music, here's some country. And I love the fact that if we can go into like the fact of society often tries to tie you to a box and say, this is your label and that's it. But for you, like, you are working a normal job, you're doing music on the side, you're a wife, and you manage to fit it all in. If we can go into like the balance and how you do it, as well as the fact of you're not, even being a female artist, you're not afraid to jump on a track with that trap music or the different genres of music.
Right. So I'll talk about that. I want to maybe make a note of something that I want to go back and talk about. When you were talking about like how girls think that they need to basically sell their body to get a husband. So put a pin in that, and then I'll back to that. But yeah, so I balance is a funny word because I feel like there never is such a thing.
There isn't.
Yeah, I feel like setting limits for myself is very important. So obviously I have my work schedule, which is Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 4:30. My husband and my schedule is very similar. He leaves a little bit before I do, and he gets home a little bit before I do. So for all intents and purposes, we have the same schedule. So when I'm working, I just have a desk job. So there are times that there's not a ton that I can do. I'm kind of maybe killing time. So I hope my boss isn't listening. So I
it's not on work time ever. Yeah. You heard nothing. La la la. Yep.
I definitely didn't write when I was at work.
Nope, never's happened.
No, never happened. But you know, I have headphones in sometimes, and so I'll listen to my songs that I have the beats for, and I'll kind of just be playing with melodies in my head. And if I hear lyrics at work, I'll write them down. So that's kind of some of the maneuvering I've been able to do during work time. When I get home, you know, I try to not be on my phone as much as possible, just because that is our time to hang out together. But you know, there's some times where he'll want to come up and just play his video games. So he'll do that. And when he's doing that, then I'll be downstairs and I'll put a song on and I'll try to write. So when we have things that we want to do, the other person has something else they want to do. So we're not ignoring each other to get things done that we want to do, or to just do our hobbies. Yeah. Then the weekends, you know, we'll do stuff together. We both have motorcycles that we're working on right now. So we'll do some of that. And we both do photography as well. And he does videography. So there's a lot of things and a lot of hobbies that we kind of have to fill our time. But yeah, I think setting limits, and if I ever feel like, all right, I've been on my phone too much, or I don't have time for this, then I won't do it. I'll put it down, you know, and we're pretty good. I should say he's pretty good about checking me on that kind of stuff. I am just like buried in my phone. He's like, is something going on? I'm like, nope. I got to put it down. Okay. Like, so, you know,
I hear ya.
It's because it's easy to get sucked in, you know, but yeah. I feel like as far as the music part goes, you know, I wrote 6 a.m. in one day. I wrote the next song that I'm releasing yesterday. Like the writing part, it doesn't take too long for me. And it usually takes me about an hour and a half, 2 hours to record it. So it doesn't really take a lot of time, you know? So it's a lot easier on my end to give myself some sort of boundary in that, because yeah, it doesn't fill a ton of time. And yeah, speaking on what you were saying about, you know, versatility and being on a bunch of different tracks and stuff. I listen to just about everything. Primarily, I listen to more of the R&B kind of stuff because it's so easy to listen to all the time. A lot of music I kind of have to be in a mood to listen to. Yeah. Like I love country music in the summer because the sun's out. That's where my brain goes when it's dark and rainy and nasty out. I'll listen to kind of the rock, more like angry, I hate the world kind of stuff. Kind of middle of the road is pretty much anything else. So I listen to almost everything. So I kind of have trained myself to be a little more versatile in my vocals. So it doesn't really challenge me too much to be in different genres, because I feel like I can kind of tweak my voice where it needs to be. But I think the R&B is really my sweet spot. For a while, I thought it was the rock, because obviously that's what people know me for. But when I sit down to write a song or think about writing a song, I always go back to stuff like the 6 a.m. because it's so easy to do those, like the runs, the harmonizing, all those kind of things. That's what's in my head. I feel like what fits me best when I'm talking about like the rock genre is just the really strong, powerful notes. Like those are really easy for me, but song like that, not so much, you know? So I think, I think it all just comes down to me listening to a lot of different things and being able to kind of go, okay, this needs this. If it's country, I'm not really going to do crazy R&B runs, you know, I'll kind of turn into maybe doing some falsetto flips or maybe add a little twang to one thing I say.
There you go, right?
Yeah. It's kind of just, you know, trying to be as versatile as possible so I don't box myself in, basically.
And I actually love, I don't love that you have a regular job, because who wants to work a regular job? But right. I love, because I'm in a I design training, but the idea of creativity. And so I tell my team all the time, you could work an 8-hour shift, but your brain does not shut off. So you will now watch a commercial and say, oh, I like that, and I'm going to bring that back into work. And so it's probably really beneficial for you to go step away, go do work, because your brain's still going. Your brain will always think. And then, like you said, when there's a downtime, you're like, oh yeah, that's a good thing, because your brain was still working and creating. Right. When you're just doing regular work.
Totally. And, you know, I have been a lot more of a practical and realistic person since being with my husband for the past years. He's made me very level. And so I don't think I could dive in full time to music because of the I guess the unsure portion of it, you know. We all, I'm sorry, we all need money. We all need to make a living, you know. So I have to be real with myself and say, okay, I need something where I can contribute to our household, make sure lights are on, make sure we're doing okay, and I can fit music stuff in. You know, because another thing too is I feel like if you turn something that you love into a full-time job, if it's not already supplementing your income, you will hate it because you're forcing it. You're trying to make something into something that it's not. So I'm trying to be realistic with myself. And I do the same thing with photography. Like I am super busy in the summer because it's photo time, you know?
Wedding season, family season.
So there's always a thought in my head, like, oh, maybe I could make this my job. And then the winter hits and I have nothing. And I'm like, well, yeah, okay. So that was stupid. You know,
or I have to really learn how to budget well. And I'm not that good at it. So
exactly. He comes in. Yeah. So, you know, having a consistent income has helped me really dive into the creative side of the music and all that, because I don't have the pressure of this has to be perfect or else, you know.
There's no timeline that comes with it, because it doesn't have to get to number 1. It can be at number 5, because whatever, and
at my pace.
And then you just have like the natural flow of it, and so it just organically will come to you. And as time goes on and the more that you create and collab, like again, we always say, like, it's God's time, patience, and whatever happens along that, then you never know, one day it may become something that you do. But it's fun to see right now, like your creative side, and especially just tapping into your music and seeing the flow of it all.
Thank you. Yeah. It's fun, you know, and I don't ever want it to not be fun. So that's kind of why I'm being very intentional with kind of how I'm operating and maneuvering all this kind of stuff.
Which is awesome too, because we talk about like listening to your intuition and like following that and using even discernment and all of that. So that's awesome, especially when it comes to like honoring like yourself and your self-love and intuition, and even like your relationship and your marriage.
Which takes us back to that pin we put in, and the idea of being, again, a role model for girls. Bridget has a 12-year-old daughter. But you're also a role model for boys. I have a 13-year-old son and an 11-year-old son. And to be able to have them listen to something that's not, oh, I want my wife to be able to do this nonsense over here, or I should expect this, or I should do this. And I'm taking them to church every Sunday and trying to teach them to be good, godly men at some point. And that's what you're giving me as an example. Or I see these parents who allow their girls these short shorts and the short shirts and all the stuff. And it's like, I would never and never in my whole life condone rape. I think that's disgusting and people need to figure that out. But I also think if you want to have a godly man chase after your daughter, maybe you just don't dress her like she is.
Well, yeah. And it comes down to basic instinct. You can't tell a boy to not find something attractive. They're going to, so the best thing that I think I could convey to girls is attention doesn't equal love. Like you can show off your body all you want. And, I've been guilty of this in the past, and it's yeah, totally. I mean, it is what it is, but you have to look at how you're presented, because you're presented in a way that leaves almost nothing to the imagination, which is then in turn not valued.
Yeah.
So, like I said, you can't expect guys to not be attracted to something because you put it in their face and their instincts are going to go, yeah, I like that. But once rationality kicks in, because guys are very good at being rational, a moment of lust will fill their brain, but then clarity, they go, yeah, okay, she might be good for a night, but that's not a wife.
Yeah, right.
So I think girls need to actually think about that. Do you want to be one night, or do you want to be someone's rest of their life? Because, you don't need to be, frumpy and, no fun, this kind of stuff to, that's not what you need to be. And that's what I think a lot of girls just think of the extreme. If someone says, hey, don't put yourself out there all, like that, girls think, well, what, am I just supposed to wear a potato sack? No, come on. Let's
you can cover your parts and leave a little to the imagination.
Yeah. I always think like my gym has a rule, and it's kind of funny, but it kind of makes sense. Like if you're wearing a sports bra, then wear long pants. If you're wearing shorts, wear a t-shirt. Don't wear shorts and a sports bra. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
Out a little bit, like it's kind of like that should be common sense, like I think, crop tops I wear them, but I also will wear jeans if I wear a crop top. And if I'm wearing shorts, then I'll wear like a t-shirt, or I'll wear like a tank top or something. But like coming at it from both ends, it's like, all right. And it makes guys think, is that all you got?
Right.
Because I said, I keep going back to guys like what they like, but they also are smart, and they realize, okay, if that's all you're putting out, that's maybe all you're good for.
And I already saw it, so why even entertain any further in what I'm doing?
Exactly.
And it goes into the idea of, what are you showing? What are you sending them? What are you like? Because now we talked to a guy who's talks to a lot of his teenage high school friends, and he had a thing on there like, most kids will have sent some sort of nude picture to someone before they ever even go on a date.
Yeah.
Then why are you going on a date?
Yeah. And that's what's really sad about all these apps and stuff like the Tinder. Like, it's just bred for plain hooking up, and there's no value in relationships anymore. And I don't know. It is just really sad, because men and women's brains operate so differently when it comes to sex. Guys can have sex and then completely detach after. Women can't. And I feel like something that girls need to really understand, because when you have sex with a guy, your brain goes, I'm connected.
We're connected.
I love
soul tie.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just the chemical release, Guys don't have that. So when women think that sex is going to equal love, it may for them, but it doesn't for the guy.
Not always. Yep.
Yeah, that's not the key. That's not it. Guys want to know that, yeah, we have a great sex life, but also we have something more than that. So just giving that up immediately doesn't benefit you in any way, because a guy goes, yeah, okay, well, she did that for me, so she's going to do that for every other guy. So why would I marry her?
Right. Or she's going to do that for me forever because I've been married 17 years and I can promise you that's not why we're still married. Because way different after all this time. But I mean, that's exactly it. That is there some substance there? And you don't have to wear a potato sack and be frumpy and dumb.
Exactly.
But you can dress nicely and show your intelligence and have a conversation and really get them attracted to you for other reasons. And that's just a bonus.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's so important to, like I said earlier, like, yeah, you shouldn't work to get a husband, but if you have one,
you probably should.
Yeah, exactly. Because, you want to protect your investment.
Right?
Yeah.
You are not wrong, sister.
Too, like, just in that aspect of, like, even as a female, and if like you are married or if you're in like the dating, like if you are in like a serious dating relationship, like you don't need to put it on the internet. Like, you know how awkward that is for your guys friends to be seeing you that way, and then like you go to hang out and it's like then people wonder why they're like their friends hitting on their girlfriend or their wife, and it's like, well, hello, it's all over the internet. So it's just like respecting yourself and having like that morals and like self-respect and not wanting to be seen as that. And so like I even saw your TikTok of like the Christmas party you went to. And I was like, this is so me, because I'm always like either half look homeless or I'm like all grunged out. And then when I get ready, I'm like, oh, total transformation. It's like, hey, I'm still here. Or people are like always like, I don't look my age. So people are always like, oh, like, even though you're a mom, like you could still like spice it up and like get like be sexy and all that. But at the same time, like, don't throw it all over the internet. And have something for your husband to come home to and your man to come home to be like, yeah, that's just mine. And then like he's not wanting to seek it elsewhere because you have it on lock at home.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if I'm home, and even if we don't go anywhere, like I'll get up, I'll put makeup on, I'll do my hair, and then I walk around the house in like booty shorts and a sports bra. Like I want him to feel like this is only for me.
Yep. Yeah.
Like that's part of, keeping things spicy, or, just normal things. Like a wife should also be a girlfriend, like you should feel like I'm excited to come home to her all the time. Because it's so sad now. And my husband works in construction, so it could also be that. But guys now are so anti-marriage because they think, well, the second you marry her, she's gonna give up. She's gonna stop doing this. She's gonna stop doing that. Like marriage shouldn't be a death sentence. Like that should be
the kids. It's actually the children. That's what ruins your marriage. No, I was kidding.
But it shouldn't be something that either person gives up. And it is has traditionally been the joke that the woman will whatever after the married, but neither people should stop trying to keep the other person happy in either regard, whether it be your appearance, whether it be how you treat each other. Marriage shouldn't be, okay, we've reached the finish line, now it is what it is. It's like, no, that's a a checkpoint. Keep going.
Yeah. Marriage is the beginning.
Yeah, totally.
Well, and we had
work. I'm not married, but it takes a lot of work. Like I know I have a lot of conversations with married people around me. There's a lot of work, and like communication and trust are key to all of that.
Yeah. Well, and
they don't even like you.
Well, it's so the communication thing, that word gets thrown around so much. I feel like it's almost frivolous now, but it is true. But I think it's important to break down what that means. Yeah. And, mine and my husband's communication styles are very different because they're learned behaviors from other things.
Exactly.
And I hate that I do this. And I feel like this is so common for a lot of women. With any emotion, I cry. Like I could be mad and I'm
angry.
I'm an angry crier. And I'm like, no, I don't want to look weak. I don't want to, but I'm crying because I'm just so frustrated. So if I don't want to cry, I'll just shut down and I'll just go into silence. But that doesn't help, does it?
Nope.
Because then he feels like, okay, she's ignoring me. All right, fine. We'll play it back, and it doesn't help. So having recognizing that's still something I'm working on, because it's like, it's something I saw my whole life. Like my mom's the silent treatment queen. And it's just, I have to understand that isn't always deserving. Like it doesn't always have its place. Like, because
it's my feeling, not your feeling.
Right.
So, but I'm hurting you because I'm upset or whatever.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And, and he just wants to talk things out, and I can't always do that without crying. I'm a wimp. So it's like, I don't want to do
it. You're not the only one. And it's funny because my husband and I, like I said, we've been married, it'll be 17 years in June. And we got to a place where we have 2 kids, we've been married forever. And now we're like passing in the night with whatever function our children have to go to. And it's like, we're roommates, and that's how our parents are and have lived most of their life. And I finally was like, I can't live this way. And I don't want to do this. And so we ended up going to like couples therapy, because it was like, it's the same cycle over and over and over. What are we doing? And that is really is I would shut down and he would think it was his fault. Yeah. So then he would say, what did I do? How do I fix it? Where is it at? And it's like, no, I'm just pissed off because work was dumb. Like it's literally nothing. I just don't feel it's worthy enough to talk about, but it is obviously bothering me. And so we were able to really dig that apart. So communication, you're absolutely right. It's who are you and what are you doing? And then let's talk about it so that we know what each other's thinking.
And isn't it crazy though? Like how in realizing that, how much power the woman holds, like our mood dictates everything. So if we get ourselves in check, everything's fine.
Actually, that was one of the gut checks that he said almost the first like session we had was, your mood runs our family. And it was like, oh yeah. Oh, I better fix that, because that's no good.
Yeah, because I feel like women tend to say like, oh, a guy needs to do this for me, or he needs to treat me this way. And it's like, well, treat him the way you want to be treated, and you will be, like you don't get love and affection and respect and all this just by sitting there and doing nothing. You don't get that by existing, just like
no.
right. just like you think, you deserve this, he deserves X, Y, and Z.
Absolutely.
So it's so we've become so selfish. That, we just think, oh, well, I deserve this just because I exist, because you have all these other women going, yes, queen, you deserve this, you deserve that. And it's like, for what?
Right.
Yep. For what? There used to be a time where you actually had to earn things. So we should, I know, it's like, we should get back to that, because it is so important. And so it's so important in your relationship to be selfless and think of the other person.
Yeah.
Love it.
And I feel like that is what's lost in a lot of the younger girls, because you do have that echo chamber of just support and you're the best person in the world. Maybe you're not. Like maybe
you need to check yourself.
Yeah, maybe we all need to change a little bit. And I mean, the men in our lives would be so much happier if we just had a little bit of self-reflection and been like, okay, maybe I could be nicer. Like that would change a lot.
I mean, and we are complicated beings. Like, as much as, and I have no disrespect, but really, like you said, guys are like, here's the thing, and then it's gone, like whatever. And we are not.
They're so simple. Yeah.
I mean, you raising 2 more, and it makes me sad.
They could be in a bad mood, and they come home from work, you give them a hug and a kiss, and greet them with a smile. They're fine. Change
food.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
but you know,
most females don't even cook anymore. And I
right.
think like that's what I love about you and relating to you too, is even you talking about like you having your normal job and contributing to the household. Like this generation and like society, they make it seem like you need a sugar daddy or the female can't contribute. And for me,
Yeah.
I've been like, I was raised on like very independent and strong male role. So for me, like sometimes I have to step back and be like, Bridget, check yourself, because I come off like with that very dominant, like masculine energy.
Yeah.
But my dad also raised me to like, Bridget, earn everything and you don't need a man. But there's a difference between a need and a want. So I don't need you, but I mean, there's that difference of wanting and knowing it's the self-value and having those morals. So just oftentimes too, stepping back, and I even read that just to figure out how to deal with people in general. Just because I always like my energy always attracts so much that I'm like, how do I deal with some of these people? So I read that book, 5 Love Languages of Marriage, and just knowing like communication wise, how to deal with people and the different types of people, and everyone's love language is different as well.
Yeah, definitely. And he's admittedly a better cook than I am. So, but you know, what I can do for him is he works, well, pretty frequently. He works a good distance away from home. So his commute's usually 45 minutes to an hour. And so I'll get up before he gets up and I'll put his lunch together and everything so he can sleep in as long as he has to. So he just has to get up, put his clothes on and go. So like he doesn't have to get up and pack his box and make sure everything's right. So I mean that's the minimum of what I can do. But even just little things like that help him out a lot. And I'm, you know, I feel like I'm happy to do that. But yeah, it's funny what you're saying, you know, having outwardly being more like aggressive or, you know, assertive, that kind of thing. I feel like I'm that way in every aspect except for our marriage. Like I am fine being the dominant, being the, you know, being the controller or being assertive or, you know, basically I have no problem telling people what I think. And, but in that respect, I think I am that way. How do I say this? I don't know. I don't like appearing weak or like a fragile woman. And I'm big too. I'm 6 feet tall and I'm not,
you're not short.
I feel like I almost kind of have to present the way that I look. But in my marriage, I don't want to be that.
Yeah,
I agree. I want to be the wife. I want to be the gentle. I want to be, you know, the happiness, the, you know, sensitive, the everything that the world doesn't get. That's what he gets.
Yeah. But that's been really hard for me because in my family, the way I grew up, all of the women were very dominant and we have very, and I hate to say submissive because they're not, but submissive husbands. And if something happens, like all of passive is a much better word. Thank you. We would all be together and you would just hear the wives nagging and yelling at the husbands and they're not really even doing anything. And I found myself doing that. And as a family, we all started going back to church. And that was one of the big things is, well, you have to be submissive to your husband. Yeah. And we had a really awesome sermon talking about how like many people as society think submissive means the husband is bossy and you have to do whatever you want, blah, 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 blah. And that's not at all what it means. No. It really is. You are submissive to him. So you kneel down to him, but he's supposed to lift you up on a pedestal. So you are now looking even. And when you do that, that's exactly what he'll do. But right now as society, we have competing plans for each other. The man really is supposed to be the head of the household, everything in their being. Yeah. It's their nature. Yes. And so society said, oh no, women, we can do this and blah, blah, blah. And I grew up with this, like I need to be in charge and I need to do whatever. And yes, some areas I am and some areas I'm not. And I've really over the last year I'm going to dial it down a little bit and I'm going to be happy.
Yeah.
Because I don't need to plan the whole thing. I don't need to be in charge. I don't need to be the protector of the family. That's not my role.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so it's been very interesting in our family.
No, I think you're super right. I think guys, it's just in their nature to want to be leaders. And I think as women, our best attribute is being supportive. We are very good at uplifting, at being encouraging, at being X, Y, and Z. So why would we want to downplay that when it is so crucial?
Yeah.
I think women often hear the word equality and think, okay, I need to be exactly like a man. Well, you never will be. I think what would be even greater is if women really understood what makes us different and then channeled that, because we're not meant to be like men. We're not. If we were like men, could you imagine how many fistfights in marriages there would be?
No kidding. But then everyone would be happy after. We'd fist fight, we'd be good.
No, we have to understand that each person brings qualities that balance each other out. Like my strengths are not his and his strengths are definitely not mine.
Right.
So you are the missing piece to the other person, and you don't make a whole with two pieces that don't fit together. And yeah, I think women really need to channel what makes us special and what makes us different and really hammer that home, because that would change a lot.
Yeah. Well, too, and allowing the male to be vulnerable, like, and accepting that, like, because most men just like close off or shut down or don't want to talk about their emotions, or like they'll hold it in, then just explode. It's like, no, you need to like be that nurturer as well. No different than what you want, give it back to them. And it works both ways, like meet each other halfway. And
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and how you're saying, let them be vulnerable. I feel like a lot of guys don't want to be vulnerable because a woman will try to fix their problems. So I think as a woman, to sit there and just hear them, because sometimes they just want to complain. Yeah. So just let them. Don't offer a solution. Don't try to say, well, maybe if you just did this, or if you just did, because then we're entering nagging territory.
Yep.
We're going in and saying, okay, well, I'm going to tell you what you did wrong, so here's how you fix it, and then that'll fix your mood. No, just shut up, listen, let them complain, and say, I'm really sorry, that sucks.
Yeah, because we don't like it when they do it to us. So why would we?
Just give them a back rub or something.
Right. And going off of that message, if we can go into taking it along that lines of the message and the inspiration behind your new song, 6 a.m.
Yeah. So I really feel like, oh boy, let me look at the words, because I have this other song that I just wrote in my head. And so now that's what's flooding me.
Yes. It's like, I don't want to confuse what I'm.
No. Yeah, you're fine. Honestly, it's kind of the best short 2-minute summary of like our 10 years together. Like there's sometimes on the weekends, we'll wake up, we both wake up really early for work during the week. So sleeping in on the weekend isn't really a thing. I mean, sleeping in for us, like 7. But,
yeah, same.
There's times, I'll wake up before he does, and I'll roll over and I'll just see him sleeping there. And it's so nice. I just like the first line, just looking at your face, like just looking at him and thinking, man, how grateful I am, because of any other route my life could have taken. Like it's almost funny to think like we've been together for, this will be 10 years this year. And like I could not imagine doing the things that we've done together, having my life with literally anybody else. Like that's just that almost just, it feels wrong, because it's like that wouldn't have been right. Those were not the people God wanted for me. That is not the route he wanted my life to take. So yeah. And his let's see, my chorus I talked with TMR about this on his live, was a little interpolation of his vows to me.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I wouldn't trade this life for anything else. I wouldn't dare to pass you up. That's a very condensed and kind of switched around version of, what he said to me, which, I kind of wanted to put that in there and just that, because that meant a lot to me. And so yeah, it was kind of my little, thank you.
That's awesome. That makes me teary, because that's exactly like, after all the, you're absolutely right. There would have been, after all the things you've gone through, been personalities you've changed over the years and all those things that you've done.
Yeah.
God put that person in your life because he knew you would need him.
Big time.
Mm-hmm.
Big time. Because like I said, he's made me a very like practical person and a very like more, I think more further out than I used to. And it's so funny. So we've, do you guys know Dave Ramsey?
Oh yes.
Yeah. So we finally got out of debt. We're, paying off, we're doing all this stuff. Like we're debt free and everything's going great.
We should send that into Dave Ramsey. We're debt free.
We're debt free. But I used to be so bad with money, like so terrible. And my dad, my whole entire life, wanted nothing more to make it his life mission to get me on track with money. Like he would just like, he wanted it so bad, but I couldn't get on board. And part of it was because I saw how him and my mom had an interaction with money. So he controlled the budget, he controlled the money, but he was very particular with what they could purchase. So we'll say if my mom wanted to go to Nordstrom and get a purse, no. But if he wanted a Rolex, he could get that.
Oh no.
So, yeah. So spending money was fine as long as it was what he deemed worthy, right? So I saw that like, I'm not going to listen to you.
I have money. I'm going to spend whatever I want.
Exactly. Yeah. I was like, no, you're not doing this to me too. So, when Austin and I got married, he sat me down and he talked, we went over our finances and everything. And he's like, look, what we're doing right now is not working. We need to figure this out. And he goes, I will never spend anything I will tell you not to spend money on. If we have a purchase that's over an X dollar amount, we got to talk about it. Anything else, okay, just be reasonable. So I was like, okay, fair. I can be on board with that. Yeah. And so started working through it. We have a budget meeting every month. And, we were talking to my dad about this when we were kind of in the process of paying everything off and getting all out of debt. And my dad, I wasn't in the room when this happened, but my dad was like, man, I don't know. I tried for years to get he's like, and now you guys are together and she gets it. And my husband's like, I don't think it was the message. I think it's who it was coming from. Like,
touche. Yep.
Yes. So it really is, it's amazing how your life changes when you are with the right person. And even the same message, like I said, the message that was trying to be conveyed to me wasn't getting through because it was, I saw the hypocrisy, but coming from someone that I trust, and I know, I'm not that I don't trust my dad, but it's I saw that and I was like, I don't like that. But coming from my husband, from someone that I have said, okay, this is who I'm spending my entire life with. I trust him in every aspect. I don't have anything negative to say about him. Okay, I know he means well. I'm going to listen.
Let's try.
Yeah, exactly. It would basically be stupid of me not to, because everything I've done up to this point isn't working.
Yeah, here we are. That actually leads me into something that I wanted to bring up, that you had a video, and I don't know when you posted, so forgive me for that, but you had talked about the idea of Christians being very negative, and this idea of you're going to go to hell and everybody should repent and blah, blah, blah. And I think that is the same sort of idea, that who are you in delivering your message? Are you the person who is, again, your dad saying the same thing, but you're delivering it in a very negative, poor way? Or are you just living it.
Yeah.
And then people come to you and you are now a reflection of God and a reflection of who they want to be.
Exactly. Because, you know, we say we hate when our government fear mongers us, you know, why do we do that with God? And it's, you know, he who is without sin cast the first stone. Why are you sitting here telling Christians, you're going to go to hell, you're going to this, you're going to that, like you did it right away? That's not what the gospel is about. That's not what the message is, you know? And I feel like a very important verse is, you know, when he's talking about when you meet God and he says, depart from me, I never knew you. What does that mean? That means he didn't have a relationship with you.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't create a relationship by scaring people into believing, because what they hear is, I just need to believe God is real. I need to confess my sins and then I'm good to go.
Yes.
That's not the truth.
Right.
You know,
right.
Like you think of it as a marriage, because that, I mean, you are in a marriage with Christ, and like, why would you take shortcuts in a marriage? That doesn't make sense. You want to feel like, okay, I know this person, I trust this person with everything. Like everything that I feel with my husband, I want to feel secure with in God, because that's what he's talking about. He's talking about, he wants to have a relationship with you. And, you know, it's so sad, because then I feel like it's almost a manipulative tactic because of everything going on right now. Everything wants to say, oh, the prophecies are being fulfilled and repent now, Jesus is coming soon. Okay, the Bible says you will not know the day or time. So scaring people for what? Well, that doesn't bring people to him.
No, and my theory is, and this is what I tell everybody, I was like, either something happens and we live in peace and this will be the best place ever to be because people will be happy and things will be, or the earth totally blows up and I'm going to heaven and I'm also living in peace. So ultimately it sounds like a good win-win either way. So let's not live in that. And we were actually at this morning at church, they were actually talking about that you don't get this card that says I can do everything bad and God will forgive me. That's not how the world works. It's not how this works. And so it's the whole idea of, are you living a life that somebody can, and I think you said this too, that somebody can look in on your life and say, how do I get to that? How do I get to that peace? How do I get to that happiness? How do I get to that connection?
Lead
and
by
make them wonder.
Yeah. Yeah, but you lead by, you don't scare people into it, because that never has worked and it will never work. You know,
with COVID. I'm just kidding.
Well.
Totally kidding.
Well, even too with that, like the whole like COVID stuff and like all the fear mongering, like that's one thing that like I've detached myself with, especially when it comes to family. Like I know that recently, like we were supposed to have all these family celebrations, and if my family is listening, oh well, they already know my true feelings on it.
Oh, now we know.
Right? But it's just like that, being authentic, your authentic self, and not letting like the world change you, and just like the fear mongering. So all these family functions, there's happened to be the holidays and then celebrating a baby shower. And it's like my family, my sister, my mom, and me are very creative. So we're usually doing like all the Pinterest, like girly stuff, and super extra about it. But for us, it's about like the experience for the kids and for everyone to have a good time, especially like when we knew a lot of our family is like vaccinated. So there's a lot of that fear mongering, where my family, we felt like no matter how we're treated because we're not vaccinated, we still wanted everyone to have a good time, because it was about the family time and the gathering and the tradition and the celebration for everybody, and just having that time together. So then once like this whole, oh, well, now we got this variant and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh my God, we're not doing this. Like, I'm not doing it. And then like, oh, you need to go either like quarantine and not be around big groups of people, or like get tested. And so for me, I'm like, I'm not doing it. Like, here's my thoughts on it. And like, for me, my overall thought and talking to my mom about it and sister, it was just like, this was supposed to be a celebration and family and like enjoying one another. And now you just put everyone in an awkward position of, oh my gosh, should I wear a mask, or can I do this? Can I sneeze? Can I cough? So now you just took the fun out of it. And now it's just like, now everyone's like so tight, walking on eggshells. And now you just ruin that like love. And now you just have this awkward, now you just have this awkward time. And it's just like, that's not a way to live. Like, and then say if something was to happen and someone, God forbid, passes away tomorrow or gets in an accident, now it's like, crap, we didn't get to celebrate because you were so worried about this new variant. Like, I'll give you ivermectin, I'll give you some herbs, like you'll be good. So like, that's just like being present, like for us, like, and that's what something we said we're carrying into 2022 is being present, but then also being like the presence of knowing like who's around you and like their true intentions, and just sticking with that and knowing like you're not a weirdo if like you're sticking to like your intuition, especially if it comes to like family. Like tomorrow's not promised.
Right. Well, I think all of this comes to, you know, this is, and I don't want to go too deep into the COVID stuff, but it's just like the whole idea that you know, your well-being is up to someone else. Like they have to have the rational conversation that risk factors are what's contributing to the death rate. Obesity, age, you know, other illnesses that you already have. Like for the average person, it's no more than a cold. My husband and I both had it in 2020. We were down last year days and we're fine. You know, I think having said that, telling someone like us that we need to get the vaccine when our bodies fought it off on their own is illogical, because there would be no benefit to us, because clearly we weren't hospitalized. Right. We didn't have any severe illness. Now, for some people, the vaccine would make sense. But again, that is up for you to decide, because it is evaluating your own risk. And it's not up to other people's, and it sounds insensitive to say this, but other people's health is not our responsibility. Your own health is your own responsibility, because we don't hold that standard for anything else.
And I was just going to say that the lack of accountability is what blows my mind in, I mean, in anything. You could take COVID out of it, and behavior and or earning a living. And like everybody's got to start being accountable for it. And again, like what we have, my husband has a coworker who has been deathly afraid. And he's like, I think one of our biggest differences is because logically she knows, like she's in science, she knows what that is, probably not very logical, but fear is still there. And she goes, he's like, the only difference is that I believe in God and you don't. And he goes, because I could choke on my lunch and God's wanting to call me home. Like it could be nothing related to that. I could trip and I could have a brain aneurysm while we're talking right now. God, I'm not ready. Please don't. But like, we don't know that. And so to live with this one piece and this one fear, when that's crazy.
Yeah. And I was talking to Austin about this yesterday. I think the fear comes from it being out of their control. So for the people that are maybe more at risk, like someone who's old or someone who's I'll throw the obese one out there because this makes a little more sense in this aspect. You need to understand that you are more at risk if you're obese, right?
Yep.
But saying you should get a vaccine for me, or I need to get a vaccine because of that, I believe is an easy fix. And it's something that they can say, okay, this is something I can say I'm good, rather than having to admit that they made a lifetime of poor decisions that has now put them at risk of dying from a virus.
Truth.
You know, so I think this is just a way for them to, again, backpedal out of accountability. And there are some other factors like age and other illnesses that, you know, don't coincide with that, and that you know, if you want to get the vaccine because of that, then great. That's your choice. But for, you know, yeah, exactly. But for other things, it's just, again, people need to be able to evaluate their own risk and determine what they're willing to do. And that should be the end of it.
Right. And I think it goes back to, again, what we were talking about earlier. Are you, and I'll say like me, are you being a good example of what healthy should look like? And I'm not saying healthy is easy. Healthy is not easy at all.
No.
But people will see you, and it's like, because I grew up in a family of McDonald's eating. I eat McDonald's all the time. I haven't had it in many years, but the idea of it makes me want to vomit. But it's taken a long time for me to clear my health up. And now to say like, now you need to do it. Oh, hell no. Like, I'm not touching any of this, but it really is. People after years, even in my own family, people say, what would you do for this? Or do you know about this thing? And so you just become the mirror. You reflect what you want out there. And it's like, it's not easy.
No.
A lot of work.
Yeah.
But nothing good is.
No, not at all. And back in 2017, like I said, I'm 5'11", but I weighed about 240 pounds, and I lost 50 of that. And that was probably in like a year and a half. And I've managed to keep it off since then. And it's something I had to, at first I lied to myself about, because I was like, it just crept up on me. It was so quick. No, breaking it down, I could see how it got there. I could see the choices I was making. I knew what I did wrong. And honestly, keeping the weight off isn't that difficult. You just have to get into a rhythm. You have to have self-control. That's the biggest thing. It's discipline and self-control. And now at this point in my life, I eat intuitively. I take a quick little snapshot in my brain. Okay, this has this many calories. I've already eaten this. I know what I need for the rest of my day to fill out, or to, okay, don't do that. You don't need it. If I'm bored snacking, I understand that. Like, you understand your body's habits, and you just need to be mindful. That's all it is. And it goes back to people not wanting to take accountability. They just want to say, I want to live how I want to live, and nothing bad should ever happen to me. Okay, well, actions have consequences, so deal with it.
Truth. And it really is, like, to your point, it's a really hard, maybe first 6 months.
Yeah.
Then you just kind of get used to it. And I remember I had to go on a really strict diet, and it sucked. It was so bad. And I feel bad for everyone who knew me, because I was not a happy person. But now I'm like, it's so easy to do. I almost feel like I'm missing something because I've lived it so long. It's like, oh, I can eat this and do this, and here's this. And it's like, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah. It's crazy.
The consistency of it all too. It's just natural, because your body's already in the habit of it.
And you feel
it's
good.
Literally, you have to reprogram your brain and your body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you definitely.
Crap, I had a question about music.
We lost it. We totally threw it way off.
That's okay,
right? I had them to the side of me because I made little notes. We'll just go with this one. Sure. What is it about music that makes you feel the most passionate, like especially during like the creative process of it?
Yeah. I think the passion for me, I don't even know if it's much of a passion as it is just a natural urge.
Yeah.
I always have a song stuck in my head. I can't help it. That's just the way my brain works. So I'm always either like humming one chorus of a song for an hour, or I have little things bopping around in my head. It's just quite literally a part of me that I can't get rid of. So there are certain songs like the 6 a.m. that was so easy to write. As soon as I figured out, okay, I want it to be about my husband, it wrote itself. It was so easy. And I think that is part of it is writing about things that are relatable and things that I have experienced. Because then I'm not kind of searching or grasping for ideas that I know nothing about. Because it's so hard to write. I mean, you know, obviously I don't want to just make an album of love songs about my husband. Like I could, but I don't, that wouldn't go over well for a lot of people, I'm sure.
People would get bored of that, I imagine.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, yeah, I want to be able to, you know, diversify my content while still keeping it clean and, you know, nice. So I think that'll be a good challenge for me. But yeah, like coming up with things that maybe I haven't experienced that maybe some people want to hear. I think that will be something that I'll have to work on a little more. But yeah, the passion really just comes from it being something that I've always done my whole life. And I was born into a pretty musical family, and all my family can sing, play an instrument of some kind. And it's something I grew up around. And so I feel like I'm really the only one that has, I guess you could say, pursued it. I don't really like pursuing it because it sounds like I'm trying to get a record label, but like have done something with it to a certain extent. Cause yeah, my whole family can sing and are very talented and musically inclined, but they just don't do anything with it.
You made it more than just a hobby.
Yeah, exactly. My dad does. He plays the accordion and sings at nursing homes for old people.
I'm from Wisconsin. That's so very Wisconsin.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it as far as like people that do things with music in my family.
That's awesome. I love going to those places. Like I miss having grandparents because I would always, my dad's mom, my grandma, we would always go visit my Nana at like the nursing home and her little adult daycare. And so I would always go visit, and I was so sad seeing all these people without like visitors. So I would go and play like bingo or whatever crafts and stuff they were doing these days. But because it's still emotional, I haven't, and because of COVID, I haven't gone back to like just to go just because I know that's there. But yeah, that's one thing I miss about having grandparents is like what your dad does is go into those places.
Yeah, he does. I think he does like 4 or 5 nursing homes a day and does that 5 days a week.
Wow. I mean, it's probably good. It's good for him, gives him something to do, but it's probably really rewarding.
Yeah, he loves it. It's like that's his thing. So I'm like, yeah, go for it. I couldn't do it, but go for it.
These people need a good polka, you know. Everybody needs a good polka and a chicken dance.
He does like too.
That means you just need a song and he could come play.
Nope, I draw the line at polka music and
not doing that.
So kind of, I know we're getting close to time, but one of the questions I always like to ask is if you were in an elevator for 30 seconds or a minute or whatever with young adults, with kids, teenagers that were wanting to pursue their passion, what would you say to them?
Take a practical approach, because man, everyone wants to say, follow your dreams, pursue your dreams. But like I was saying earlier, it is so stressful and you'll begin to hate it if you're a dream, your full-time job, before it has a chance to do it itself. You know, I guess if everyone took my advice, no one would make it, which I understand. But, you know, I couldn't in good conscience give some young person a false premise of, yeah, you can make it in the music industry, go for it. Because I understand the realistic odds of it. You know, do what you can to make a change in the community that you're in. Because that's what's going to make more of an impact anyway. Because at that level, when you are independent, or if you're operating independently, you are in control of everything you do. The second you sign to a label, and I will say this, the second a label offers you a contract, they know that you can make it without them. So make it without them.
Oh, that's great advice.
All they are is a bank giving you a loan because you don't have the finances to do it yourself. All they do is they give you money. They say, okay, here's this amount, do X, Y, and Z. But that's the thing. It comes with conditions. They tell you with it, they rebrand you, they control everything you do. And at the end of it, if you don't make all the money back, you still have to pay it back. So they don't lose. Labels are smart, you know? So like I said, if a label comes to you and says, hey, we want to sign you, say, cool, I'm going to do it myself because you just told me I can.
You just proved to me.
You just told me I can. They won't offer a contract to someone that they don't see potential in. So maybe that could be a point where you could say, okay, I'll make this full time because I've made it to the point where I've been approached by someone. I have proven myself to be of, and I know this is way more than 30 seconds, but whatever.
No, that's good. It's a very, very long elevator ride.
Right, exactly.
We're stuck.
Yeah, we're stuck on the floor. But you know, I've proven myself to be of public interest and people are interested in me. So now I'm going to make it. That could be a point where you say, I'll go full time. But if you're just thinking like, I really want to be a singer, weigh those options carefully.
So do 100 million other people.
Yeah, exactly. Always have a backup plan because you will, you'll grow to hate it if you don't.
Well, too, and along that process, like you lose yourself. So you, not only does your image change, but like as you get higher up, there's other things that people start turning to between the drugs, the alcohol, the mental health aspect, suicide's often committed, and you're not built and like the level it takes you to, you're not ready for that yet. And so then you just literally overnight success and it's like, whoa. And then you have all the money, like you literally have everything at your fingertips, which you have it now with technology in your phone. You just have to put in more work. And it's really just about networking and who you know. So just knowing too, that if you do that, like you lose yourself in the process and then trying to like, now you even have more trauma in trying to find yourself after that. Like that's even longer journey and a hard one.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. Because it's like I said, it becomes a job and you're forcing it. You're forcing something that isn't coming naturally. So you have to in some way, and people cope in very awful ways, but they realize, crap, I'm in a hole I can't get out of. So this is what I have to do. So don't do that to yourself.
And your self-worth becomes that instead of being who you really are.
Absolutely.
Definitely. If you could collab with any artist, who would that be?
Ooh,
that's a tough one.
That is really
listening. No, I'm just kidding.
No, that's a good question. My gosh. You're gonna have to cut a lot of this out because I'm gonna actually have to think on this. Let me go to Spotify really quick.
Who do you have? Who do you have that you
Yeah. We'll see who's on your playlist. What she listens to.
Boy.
You just start with Evanescence, just being. I'm just kidding.
Okay, so can I cheat and do a couple?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Two artists. Okay, so we'll go with The Rock for this one. The band Red. Have you heard of them?
Red.
Okay, they're amazing. Their first album, I don't know if it was their first album, but one of their really old albums, End of Silence. I got it at Christian Supply when I was younger. I listened to the whole thing. And I mean, I know every word to every song. It just blew my mind. And I think that's why I do have a little bit of a passion for that rock side. Because it's just so good. And that guy's voice, just like, oh, it's incredible. So definitely Red. And then I'd say, I don't know, is it bad? Like, I can't think of a female artist off the top of my head. I would want
to. You have to be the female artist.
No, Tori Kelly.
Tori Kelly's got a beautiful voice.
Tori Kelly.
Yep.
Yeah. Tori Kelly and Red.
Yeah. I'm looking them up.
Yeah.
I listen to Tori Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She's so like, she's, I think maybe one of two artists ever that will give me chills, like visible chills. Like, just the things that her voice does is almost inhuman. I'm like, how is it so good? It's so clear. It's so just, all her runs are just like, how do you even think of that?
I don't know. I think of that of you. So, but I'm not in.
Right?
I was like, holy crap.
I was also just thinking of the song Rescue. Have you heard
Yeah.
of that one?
Yeah.
So we need a new trafficking song. I heard her voice and I'm like, dang, we need some more vocals.
Yeah.
If we
You
ever
could
bored,
write us a song.
you
Write us
can
a
write us
song, and that'll be our podcast intro.
Totally.
She's like, thanks guys for the pressure.
Right. No pressure at all.
No, if it's meant to be and it comes through, we won't be sad.
We'll just say, God, we're putting it in the universe.
I'm manifesting it.
We're manifesting this.
Yeah.
And going into how do you deal with, before we wrap up, how do you deal with adversity for anyone who's listening and dealing with mental health and everything going on in the world, or even trying to get into the music industry or follow their passion? How do you deal with adversity?
I guess define adversity for me. Like, what are you talking about when you, like, I guess what do you think the average person thinks of when they think adversity?
I mean, even people like you put yourself out there and you get trolls on the internet, or you get people saying, oh, you'll never get anywhere or whatever, like that kind of idea.
Okay.
Labels.
Yeah. So for me, I think that I generally have a hard shell, so that stuff doesn't really get to me. I'd say if you are a sensitive person, and I don't mean this insensitively, but if words genuinely get to you, if words that people you have no idea even existed until the second they said it, and that hurts you deeply, I would say stay away from the limelight, stay away from putting yourself out there, because it won't stop.
Right.
And I may be in the minority here where I think maybe a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit of bullying builds character. Because when you think about it, you shelter people and it creates more weakness. You know, people need to understand that there are mean people out there. There are people that want nothing more than to just push your buttons and to get you angry. That's what makes them happy.
Mhm.
So, you know, giving people that affirmation makes them want to do it more.
Yep.
So when you see someone in your comment section saying something negative, your urge is to want to fight back or to say something, just delete the comment. Pretend you didn't even see it. Because the second that person gets a response, they're like, ha, I got them.
Yep.
You know, so you have to be better at their game than they are. You know, and I pride myself on being pretty sassy when people make smart comments on my stuff, because I've done that before. I'll like respond to their comment with a video, but you know, it's amazing. You know, when I do that, people are like, oh, don't listen to them. You know, you're great. You're this, you're that. Come in with like the reassurance part. And I'm like, no, you guys, I know it doesn't
I don't
bother
need you.
Yeah.
This is not why I'm doing this. Like, I'm not doing this to try to like get more for affirmation from people. Like,
Yeah.
I don't need that. So I think the best thing to do is, yeah, I guess really reflect on the kind of person that you are. And if that kind of stuff genuinely does hurt you, it will hurt you more. So it's better for your mental health and your well-being to stay as far away from that as you can. You got to have thick skin if you're out on social media and you're putting yourself out there, because there will always, no matter how small, how big you are, there will always be someone that has something to say that wants to get under your skin. Yeah. So you just have to say, okay, I'm either going to not respond. I'm going to delete the comment. I'm going to, you know, say something sassy. I'm going to X, Y, and Z. But be prepared for that, because it will never not happen.
Right.
You know, so I really think for me, that's kind of been my thing. Like, yeah, there are people that just make rude comments, but I'm self-aware. I know who I am, and I know, you know, not, and I hate saying this because it just sounds bad, but I know my worth, and I know the kind of person that I am. I know the talent that I have because God gave it to me. So yep. I don't want to let someone come on and say something that is not true that would make me doubt that, you know, because I know better, and I know that person probably has some insecurities with themselves that they're trying to make me feel bad because they feel bad. Because if I make someone else feel bad, then I feel better. You gotta read more into it than surface value, because it's so much deeper than that. People that do that are truly miserable people, and I think we should pray for them, because
I was gonna say that's what Bridget
for
does.
you.
I'll pray for you.
They are hurting people, because you think a nice person who is happy with their life and content, they don't go on and troll. They don't feel the need to.
No, they're living their life. They don't care about you.
Exactly. It doesn't benefit them in any way. So it's like, why? No, don't just ignore it. Like, understand that these are people that need prayers more than they need clapbacks and, all these kind of things. So that's just it.
Don't feel bad for saying any of that, because I'm glad my brain isn't the only one that operates like that. So my spiciness is literally what you
I think I said not today, Satan, on some post of something. I was like, whatever, get out of here, devil. We ain't doing that.
Sometimes I'll even lean into it. Like, I'll treat it as if their comment was sarcastic, and I'll go along with it. That makes them even more mad. So they're like, no, I'm trying to insult you. I'm like, yeah, no, I know, I suck.
I should probably get some lessons.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Love the conversation. If you can share where our listeners can download and actually purchase your new song on iTunes and follow you on social media. What are your social medias?
So all of my social media, which is just Instagram and TikTok. I don't have Twitter. I have a personal Facebook, but I don't have a business one. So just Instagram and TikTok is Mrs. Kutcher Music. And then Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Amazon Music, all the things is Alexandria Kutcher. And that's where you can find me.
Perfect. We'll make sure to link everything in the show notes as well. And just make sure to check out all her latest music coming out, as more will be available by time we release this podcast. So again, thank you so much, and look forward to more conversations with you in the future. And as always, survivors, we see you, we hear you, we stand by you, sending you love, light, and blessings.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Did you